On August 10, 2018, a team of researchers studying marmots in Washington's Olympic Mountains made a disturbing discovery: a set of human remains. The body was identified as Jacob Gray, a young man who had vanished over a year earlier. But things got stranger. When more search teams arrived the following day, they uncovered bones belonging to not one, but 3 different people. Alongside Jacob's remains, they found fragments from 2 other individuals: a cell phone, tattered clothing, and a wallet. Even more bizarre, 3 arrows were stuck upright in the ground nearby. When data was pulled from the recovered phone, it suggested something horrific. Jacob may have been hunted and killed by something massive, a possible giant humanoid. The sheriff on the case even speculated that the area might be a human dumping ground, or perhaps even a nest. Let's rewind. Jacob Gray vanished in early April 2017, a time when Northwest Washington was still gripped by freezing weather. But Jacob, a skilled mountaineer and avid surfer, wasn't one to be deterred. He grew up in Santa Cruz, California, and lived for outdoor adventure. Obsessed with the wilderness, he decided to set off into the Olympic Mountains without telling anyone. On the evening of April 4th, amid heavy rain, Jacob loaded up his gear and set out. He was on a bicycle pulling a custom trailer his father had modified. This trailer, compact and rugged, carried everything: food, camping supplies, and a composite bow with arrows, useful for hunting or protection. His target? The Hoh rainforest deep within Olympic National Park. Now, this park is unique, nestled in the northwest corner of Washington, bordered by the Pacific Ocean. It features beaches, dense forests, and snowy peaks, with climates that shift dramatically. Importantly, 96% of it is pristine wilderness, untouched since it gained protection in 1976. Jacob was lured by its wild, mysterious atmosphere. But just 2 days later, on April 6th, hikers on the Sol Duc Trail stumbled across something troubling: Jacob's gear. His bike and trailer were found tipped over, covered with a tarp. Everything was still inside. That same day, Officer John Bowie and Huo Lingen examined the scene and found a notebook identifying the owner as 22-year-old Jacob Gray. Nearby were 4 arrows, stuck straight into the earth. Here's what's weird. The bike and trailer were in perfect condition. No flat tires, no damage. Following the trail from there leads to the temperate rainforest and up into the alpine heights of Lynx Ridge. Once Jacob was declared missing, local authorities acted fast. The next day, 30 officers and K-9 units combed the area. Jacob's parents arrived quickly, putting up missing person posters at trailheads and rest stops, hoping someone had seen him. But after a month of searching, no trace was found. Then, over a year later, on August 10th, 2018, a breakthrough. Researchers stumbled upon a human leg bone near Lynx Ridge and alerted the Clallam County Sheriff. Police arrived the next day, and after venturing into the forest were met with a foul stench. They discovered more bones, scraps of clothing, a phone, and a wallet. A short distance away, they located a broken post, a backpack with food and a water filter, and a collapsed tent. Again, 3 arrows were stuck upright in the ground. The items matched Jacob's gear, but according to Sheriff Will, they found more than just Jacob's remains. Some bones belonged to other humans, and even animals. The coroner confirmed that additional remains came from 2 other missing persons: Jack Maxson, a 34-year-old hunter gone missing in 2010, and Diane Bruno, a 33-year-old hiker last seen in 2012. Jack vanished during a hunting trip, Diane while hiking alone. Jack and Diane's bones were far more decomposed, completely bleached, suggesting long exposure. The discovery site wasn't near a campsite either. It was found 11 miles from the Sol Duc Trail, in a brutally remote section of the park, 6,000 feet above sea level, a place even seasoned climbers would find hard to reach. No signs of human activity were found nearby. If someone was disposing of bodies out there, it would be like they were a ghost. There were no shelters, no caves, no hidden camp, nothing. Even more telling, Jacob's wallet, complete with cash and credit cards, was left untouched. A careful killer wouldn't do that. Wild animals? Unlikely. Jack was an experienced hunter, armed with a high-caliber rifle and machete. It's hard to believe even predators in Olympic could overpower him. And how the bones were found, grouped oddly, with leg bones and ribs together, pelvises and other fragments off to the side, doesn't match animal behavior. Then investigators found something else. A short video on Jacob's phone. just a few seconds, but chilling, it showed a black, furred creature standing upright staring at Jacob's tent. Tanya Barbara, a Bigfoot researcher, viewed the footage and said it confirmed her worst fears. Jacob may have been killed and consumed by Bigfoot. Tanya is part of a leading research team that's been investigating Bigfoot sightings since 2008 and assisting in missing persons cases in forests across America. She shared her theory with law enforcement. But even with that lead, authorities couldn't say for sure what had happened. Further digging into Jacob's phone revealed another clue. He'd tried calling 911 on the night of April 5th, but the call never connected due to bad reception. Jacob's mother, Laura, later contacted psychic Lynn May, who claimed Jacob had been fleeing for his life that night, so desperate he left his belongings behind. Lynn said Jacob had been caught and brought back. Whatever had chased him, she claimed, was not human. Despite Lynn and Tanya's statements supporting the Bigfoot theory, many questions remain. Why were Jacob's bike and trailer discovered 11 miles from his remains? Why were both sites marked with stakes or arrows? Was Jacob trying to communicate something? Based on his route, it appears Jacob was traveling southeast from the Sol Duc Trail toward Woe Campground. He likely biked in until he could go no further, then ditched the trailer and hid it with a tarp, marking it carefully. He only took what he needed: a tent, a backpack, a water filter, and his bow and arrows. He made camp somewhere secluded. That night, April 5th, Jacob heard something strange just outside his tent. It wasn't the typical rustle of wind through branches or the distant call of wildlife. This was deliberate, heavy, unsettling. Something, or someone, was out there. Fear surged through him. Alone, vulnerable, and deep in an unforgiving wilderness, Jacob made a split-second decision. He bolted. Abandoning his gear, he ran into the dark forest, desperate to escape whatever was stalking him. By morning, he managed to gather his composure enough to document what he believed had been following him. Using his phone through a small telescope, he captured footage of a massive figure, covered in dark fur, upright and silent, looming near his abandoned campsite. The creature easily dwarfed his tent, which stood just over 3 feet tall. It wasn't merely its size that unsettled Jacob. It was the way it watched, calculating, still, as if it understood. This wasn't some lumbering animal reacting to fear or instinct. It was something far more intelligent, far more territorial. It observed before it moved, and once it chose to act, it was already too late for its prey to escape. Jacob had a composite bow, arrows, survival tools, but none of it would have been enough. Against something that large, fast, and potentially predatory, his options were few. Even if he tried to fight, his chances were slim. Even if he tried to flee, he wouldn't have outrun it. Despite the eerie footage and strange findings, Jacob's parents never fully subscribed to the Bigfoot theory. They clung to more conventional explanations. His mother, Laura, believed her son may have fallen victim to a bear attack, or perhaps a deadly rock slide. Something tragic, but explainable. She told investigators that Jacob had changed after her divorce from his father, Randy. Once cheerful and adventurous, he had become increasingly withdrawn. He left community college not long after enrolling and began working at a local rock climbing gym, seeking solace in physical challenge and solitude. Still, Jacob never stopped dreaming. He saw himself as a modern-day nomad, a soul chasing freedom across the map. The Olympic Mountains were just the beginning. His ultimate goal was to make it to Florida, where he planned to reconnect with his brother. But that journey never came to pass. Months after his disappearance, Jacob's father returned to the site where his son's remains had been found. In the thick, lonely wilderness, Randy discovered a small bone, part of Jacob's finger. Rather than handing it over to authorities, he made a deeply personal decision. He dug a small grave right there on the mountain, gently placed the bone inside, and marked the spot with a cross made from rope and wood. A memorial, a promise, a father's way of saying goodbye. Jacob wasn't the only one whose life ended on that mountain. Jack Maxim and Diane Bruno, both of whom had vanished years earlier, were also linked to that same remote stretch of forest. Their remains, scattered and sun-bleached, told no clear story. Like Jacob, they had entered the wilderness seeking solitude or challenge, but they never came out. Whatever happened to them remains locked in the silence of the trees. The Olympic Mountains, ancient, vast, and largely untouched, have always carried a certain mystique. For all our maps and satellites, there are still corners so wild, so remote, that they resist human understanding. The truth behind the disappearances of Jacob Gray, Jack Maxim, and Diane Bruno may one day come to light, but for now the answers remain buried beneath thick canopies and moss-covered stones. The mountain still holds its secrets, and it isn't ready to let them go. On September 15, 2012, 31-year-old outdoor enthusiast Thomas Siebold set out alone on an expedition into the gates of the Arctic National Park in Alaska. 2 months later, he mysteriously vanished. On November 11th, a search team discovered a damaged campsite halfway up a mountain within the park, believed to have belonged to Thomas. Among the wreckage, they found his torn jeans, a camera, a phone, and a diary. Strangely, Thomas's body was never recovered. Entries in the diary and photos from the camera suggested that he had been stalked and tormented by an unknown creature. Thomas Siebold, a seasoned survival instructor from Wisconsin, was well known for his extensive wilderness expertise. With years of rigorous survival training and a lifelong passion for exploring remote, untouched landscapes, Thomas had ventured across many of the world's major mountain ranges. He could craft shelters from snow, start fires using friction, hunt with handmade tools, and survive alone in sub-zero conditions as harsh as negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit for weeks at a time. Friends often said, if anyone can survive the most extreme environments, it's Thomas. He frequently shared reflections and insights from his journeys on social media. When in areas without internet access, he relied on his journal to document his thoughts and experiences. One of his most ambitious destinations was Gates of the Arctic National Park, a vast wilderness in northwest Alaska, entirely within the Arctic Circle and bordering the Arctic Ocean. Known as the Gates of the Arctic, this park is the largest national nature reserve in the United States and the second largest forest park in the world, covering 8.47 million acres, roughly the size of Belgium. Its ecosystem remains largely untouched, earning it the reputation of being at the edge of the world. The park is home to wildlife like caribou, grizzly bears, and even local legends of Bigfoot. On November 11th, 2012, a remote outpost in northwest Alaska received notice that Thomas had missed his scheduled return flight. Authorities quickly launched a search operation focused on the area where he was last known to be. The search lasted 13 days, but the extreme conditions and massive scale of the wilderness forced the operation to be suspended for the safety of the rescue teams. Despite Thomas's survival skills, officials believed he had likely become lost in the vast forest. Alaska's unpredictable weather and unforgiving terrain posed serious risks, and the chances of recovering his body were deemed low. Still, his family refused to give up hope. Eventually, through the combined efforts of park rangers and family members, a campsite believed to be Thomas's was discovered near Chandler Lake, west of the Brooks Range. At the site, searchers found a sleeping bag and fragments of torn denim, believed to be remnants of his jeans. Nearby, they also recovered a camera, a cell phone, and his journal. As investigators reviewed the photos and diary entries, a chilling picture began to emerge. Thomas had been following a planned route toward a remote village called Kobuk, nestled in the Brooks Range and home to just 148 residents. Isolated and difficult to reach, Kobuk was to be a checkpoint on his wilderness journey, but he never arrived. Thomas spent part of his expedition in a temporary shelter known as the Cyber House, a fully equipped survival base that allowed visitors to cook, rest, and live independently in the wilderness. In his journal, he recorded moments of peace and deep appreciation for Alaska's wild beauty. September 15th. The weather is perfect this morning. Words can't capture the indescribable beauty around me. Every cloud-covered peak, every stream, every bird, even the quick, elusive animals in the forest seem to call out to me. I feel like I belong here. September 20th. Tonight, under a full moon, the sun set with a fiery red glow over the icy landscape. Dinner was wonderful. Salmon, meat, and berries. Your love and support give me strength. The people of Alaska have been incredibly kind, even though we've only just met. These serene and reflective entries abruptly ended on September 28th, when something terrifying disrupted the calm. September 28th. A monster came to my campsite tonight. It kept banging on the door. At first, I thought it might be someone from a nearby village, but as I moved closer, I heard a howl, deep, unnatural, and horrifying. Whatever it was, it had immense strength. I felt like it could rip the cabin apart. I didn't know what to do. I hid inside all night, unable to sleep. Tomorrow morning, I'm leaving. Immediately. Following the terrifying encounter, Thomas's journal indicated he intended to travel 20 kilometers to Chandler Lake and establish a new camp there. His final journal entry, dated October 11th, hinted at growing fear and uncertainty. October 11th. I've been away from the village for several days now. My food supplies are limited, but they should last until I reach Chandler Lake. Still, something doesn't feel right. I have the unsettling feeling that I'm being followed. I don't know if it's a person or something else. At times, I hear howls, beast-like, but when I search, there's nothing there. I'm starting to feel uneasy. October 2nd, noon. I'm feeling increasingly unsettled. Deep in the forest, I came across enormous footprints, easily twice the size of my own. Nearby, I found crude shelters made from tree branches and signs of broken limbs. Were these the work of hunters? The strange, unsettling sound I've been hearing has returned, and I'm terrified. October 4th, morning. Today, I captured something remarkable and disturbing on my camera. In the distance, I spotted what at first seemed to be a bear standing upright and watching me. But it wasn't a bear. It looked more like a pitch-black humanoid figure. It was too far away to identify clearly whether man or beast, but I had the unnerving sense that it was following me. I think I need to pick up the pace and leave this area as quickly as possible. October 5th, night. Thomas finally reached the vicinity of Chandler Lake, but with daylight fading, he had no choice but to set up camp for the night. He noted in his journal that he had just enough sausage and steak left for one final meal. Hoping the mysterious creature was far behind him, he tried to settle in. At 10:30 p.m., however, he heard footsteps outside his tent. The oppressive feeling returned. "It's here again," he wrote. "The air feels heavy. I'm terrified. Can anyone save me?" Analysis of the diary and camera evidence. Based on Thomas's journal entries and footage recovered from his camera, it's highly likely that he encountered a creature resembling Bigfoot in the remote Alaskan wilderness. The first signs of trouble date back to September 15th, when Thomas arrived at the Brooks Range shelter. It's believed the scent of food he prepared there may have initially drawn the creature to his location. September 28th, night. A hungry Bigfoot is believed to have approached Thomas's cabin, likely drawn by the scent of food. The creature appeared to survey the area before attempting to break in. Realizing the imminent danger, Thomas chose to abandon the shelter the following morning. However, instead of returning to safety, he headed deeper into the wilderness, toward the more remote Chandler Lake. The reasons for this decision remain unclear. One possibility is that his scheduled return date had not yet arrived, leading him to stick to his original route. Another is that he may have mistaken the encounter for a bear attack and believed relocating would keep him safe. As he journeyed toward Chandler Lake, Thomas continued to be stalked. Bigfoot is often described in lore as a highly elusive creature, capable of silently observing humans long before they realize they're being watched. Thomas frequently reported hearing strange, untraceable sounds, heightening his fear and confusion. October 5th, night. While preparing his final meal, sausage and steak, the strong aroma may have triggered another encounter. This time, the creature is believed to have launched a direct attack on his campsite. Theories about Thomas's disappearance. One theory suggests that Thomas fell victim to a wild animal attack. Given the vast, untamed wilderness of Alaska and his thriving wildlife, it's plausible that he became disoriented and was attacked by a grizzly bear or mountain lion. These predators, particularly in times of food scarcity, are known to target campsites and humans. Despite extensive search efforts, Thomas's body has never been found, and his disappearance remains a haunting mystery. Another theory points to a more mysterious possibility, a Bigfoot encounter. Unlike bears, Bigfoot is said to remain active year-round, constantly foraging for food. This theory aligns closely with the evidence found in Thomas's recovered footage. First clip, September 28th, night. This video was captured during the same night Thomas described in his journal as being attacked. The recording contains howling sounds that don't match any known animal. such as bears or mountain lions. The creature appears to use its arms to strike and shake the makeshift shelter, suggesting humanoid strength and motion. Second clip, October 1st. In this footage, Thomas is seen deeper in the forest. Distant howls and heavy footsteps echo around him. He turns repeatedly with his camera, attempting to identify the source, but nothing visible appears in the frame. Together, these recordings support the chilling possibility that Thomas was being stalked, not by a known predator, but by something unknown and unnatural in the wilderness. One of the final videos recorded by Thomas revealed unsettling structures deep within the forest, formations made from stacked wooden stakes and branches, arranged in unnatural patterns. In several photos, a cave is visible on the edge of the woods. In one particularly eerie image, a shadowy humanoid figure, pitch black and still, appears to be staring directly at Thomas. The image is blurry when zoomed in, but its presence is unmistakable. He also captured photographs of enormous footprints scattered throughout the area. Alaska's vast and hauntingly beautiful wilderness has long drawn adventurers, hunters, and campers seeking solitude and challenge, but it's also notorious for unexplained disappearances. Every year, hundreds of people vanish in the state's forested national parks, many never found, leaving behind no trace. To some, venturing into such isolation may seem reckless, but for others, it reflects a deeply rooted human drive to explore the unknown. Tragically, that pursuit often ends in mystery, or worse. In his final diary entry, Thomas wrote, "The familiar howling has started again outside. This time, there's more than one of them. I feel so cold. I hope that once I fall asleep, I never wake up again." On August 18, 2019, search and rescue personnel scoured Thompson Peak in California. While combing through a concealed trail, they stumbled upon a blue backpack, identified as belonging to Daniel Coleman's. 1 week later, approximately 6 kilometers away from that spot, a ground search team made a chilling discovery near a ravine: fractured human vertebrae and a shattered pelvis. A cell phone was also recovered near the remains. When investigators accessed the contents of the phone, a disturbing narrative began to emerge. It seemed Daniel had captured evidence of something deeply unsettling, suggesting he may have inadvertently stumbled into what appeared to be Bigfoot's lair. One particular photo on the camera added to the growing sense of horror. Daniel Coleman stood 1.75 meters, is approximately 5 feet 9 inches, and 75 kilograms, is about 165 pounds. He was born on April 12, 1985, in La Mesa, California, and spent his childhood and teenage years in Lancaster. He later graduated from the University of California, Santa Barbara. From a young age, Daniel had been obsessed with cryptids, particularly Sasquatch, and had a deep fascination with mysterious creatures. His favorite pastime as a child was sitting in front of the television, watching the Nature and Discovery channels. As an adult, Daniel became a certified emergency medical technician and served with the Blue Lake Volunteer Fire Department. Known for his infectious smile and sharp sense of humor, Daniel was an experienced backpacker and cycling enthusiast. Several months before his disappearance, he had requested a sabbatical, saying he planned to hike in the Alps. According to South Lake Volunteer Fire Department Chief Reisbag, on the morning of August 11th, 2019, Daniel posted a series of photos on Facebook. The caption read, "Just reached Thompson Peak, 9,000 feet up, enjoying a cold beer." He mentioned meeting 4 hikers from the San Francisco Bay Area and helping them reach the summit. In the photo, Daniel wears a sun hat and blue jacket, smiling and sharing snacks with others. Following his usual habit, Daniel meticulously planned his route. Shortly after that post, he called his girlfriend, Callie, assuring her he was safe and that Sapphire Lake was his next stop. That night, she received a message from his GPS device indicating he had reached the area near the lake. August 14th was the day Daniel was supposed to return home, but Callie never saw him again. When she couldn't reach him by phone, she reported his disappearance to the Trinity County Sheriff's Office. That same evening, Daniel's vehicle was found parked at the entrance of a trail leading into the mountains. By August 18th, 12 separate search and rescue teams were combing the area. A helicopter from the California Highway Patrol spotted a blue backpack lying off the main trail. It was confirmed to belong to Daniel. However, Daniel himself was still missing. The search continued until August 26th, when a breakthrough occurred. A ground team near Sapphire Lake found human skeletal remains in a dense thicket: 2 fractured vertebrae, a shattered pelvis, and bones still bearing muscle tissue and traces of blood. Forensic analysis suggested Daniel died sometime between the evening of August 11th and the early morning of August 12th. One initial theory posited that Daniel may have fallen from a cliff and been partially consumed by wild animals, and the vast distance between the backpack and the remains only deepened the mystery. Moreover, aside from a few bones and the cell phone, no other remains were found, no clothing fragments, no other body parts. If an animal had indeed scavenged the body, more evidence should have remained. Then came the phone's photo gallery, perhaps the most compelling clue. In addition to selfies and scenic shots, there were a few inexplicable images. They depicted what looked like an unknown den deep in the wilderness. Massive, uprooted trees, collapsed branches, and a damp, eerie environment. In one particularly chilling image, a hulking, brown-furred creature appeared partially obscured behind a tree. In front of it lay Daniel's backpack, seemingly discarded. Daniel's death was deeply unsettling, and the circumstances surrounding it remain unexplained. Why did he leave the main trail? What drew him to such an ominous place? How could a trained firefighter, fit and prepared, end up reduced to a handful of bones in a matter of hours? Another clue surfaced weeks later. On September 5th, a hiker named Jerry Brennan contacted the local Forest Service with a disturbing report. He claimed that on August 11th, the same day Daniel disappeared, he had been camping near South Lake when he felt watched. While preparing lunch, Jerry heard distant, human-like screams echoing through the forest. Following the noise, he reached a deep ravine. He recorded a short video at the scene. In the footage, Jerry recounts the sudden silence that followed the screams, and then, through the trees, he claims to have seen a massive humanoid creature watching him. Though far away, he was certain it was at least twice his size. The encounter lasted only seconds, but Jerry said it felt like a lifetime. He fled in panic, rolling and crawling to safety. As he left, he believed the creature let out another warning growl.
It's fucking moving. That is fucking moving right there.
There was something strange about the figure Jerry Brennan claimed to have seen. It didn't move like any ordinary animal. It resembled an ape, but it was bulkier, more powerful, and walked with a deliberate presence. Jerry was sure it wasn't any known animal. Even as he stood inside the Park Service office, Jerry's body was still trembling. But when he reported this vital clue to the Forest Service, he was told he'd likely just seen a black bear standing upright. Authorities remained vague about Daniel Coleman's case. The most recent official reports simply state that he died of unknown causes, but online discussions and whispers suggest a much darker truth. According to Daniel's family, the reason he may have gotten lost was his willingness to help others, particularly a group of inexperienced hikers. After Daniel's death, a man named Robert Brand contacted Callie, Daniel's girlfriend. He claimed Daniel had assisted their team of 4 hikers while climbing that same mountain. On August 11th, Robert's group had gotten lost en route to the summit of Thompson Peak. That's when they encountered Daniel. After speaking with them, Daniel volunteered to guide the team to the top. They shared food and stories along the way. Daniel, who hadn't packed much for himself, gave away nearly all he had. Even on the descent, he continued scouting ahead to find a safe path. Robert described Daniel as incredibly generous, someone you could immediately trust, especially once they learned he was a firefighter. Before parting ways, Daniel mentioned his plan to head to Sapphire Lake, but said he'd have to take a back route due to his lack of food. When Robert's group offered to share some of theirs, Daniel politely declined, insisting that as beginners, they would need it more. From the available information, several chilling clues begin to form a picture. Northern California has long been a hotspot for Bigfoot sightings. According to Ranger Richard Destinger of California's Redwood National Park, the state has recorded over 458 Bigfoot sightings, second only to Washington. The iconic Red Mountain Bigfoot photo was also taken here. Despite occasional recognition of Bigfoot as folklore, like California's Bill 666, which proposed Bigfoot as the state's official mystery creature and cultural symbol, official agencies have consistently denied any concrete evidence of its existence. Incidents involving violent encounters or disappearances are rarely acknowledged. Jerry Brennan's terrifying account may hold the final piece in the unsettling puzzle surrounding the mysterious death of Daniel Coleman. While camping near South Lake on the night of August 11th, Jerry claimed to have heard what sounded like a human scream echoing through the trees, raw, high-pitched, and panicked. Moments later, he saw a massive bipedal figure watching him from the shadows. But what he saw didn't align with the images retrieved from Daniel's phone days later. This discrepancy has led some to a deeply chilling theory. Daniel wasn't killed by a single creature, but by multiple, possibly by a group, a family. The figure Jerry described was tall and imposing, with pitch black hair and a wide chest. In contrast, the being captured in Daniel's photos, taken shortly before his death, had lighter, reddish fur and appeared smaller in build, though no less intimidating. For researchers in the field of cryptozoology, these differences weren't contradictions, they were clues. Some experts suggest that juvenile Bigfoots may have light, reddish fur, which darkens as they age. Just as a bear cub's coat might be golden and turn dark with maturity, the same may apply to these elusive creatures. If true, it supports a frightening scenario. Daniel may have stumbled into a nesting ground, a den, or a hidden sanctuary inhabited not by a single creature, but by an entire Bigfoot family. The idea isn't far-fetched when compared to other reported encounters in Northern California and the Pacific Northwest, regions long steeped in Bigfoot lore. Witnesses have often described seeing multiple creatures traveling together, an adult and one or two smaller figures nearby. These reports were dismissed for decades, but Daniel's disappearance may suggest there was truth in them all along. Earlier that same day, August 11th, Daniel had crossed paths with a group of 4 lost hikers while making his way along the Thompson Peak Trail. That detour may have sealed his fate. Sometime between leaving the group and nightfall, Daniel likely strayed off the main trail, possibly unknowingly venturing into a restricted part of the forest, untouched and wild. It's speculated he realized too late that something was watching him. Some theorize Daniel dropped his backpack deliberately. For seasoned climbers and wilderness responders, this is a known tactic. Leave gear behind to distract a predator. It's also possible he left it behind to draw whatever was following him into view, so he could photograph it, and he did. His phone later revealed a series of eerie images. An uprooted tree, claw marks in the earth, and in one final photo, a hulking shape lurking behind a thick tree trunk. A shape not human, not known, not safe. Daniel may have tried to run, camera in hand, as the forest around him erupted with low-frequency howls and movement. At some point, those howls grew louder, more coordinated, as if multiple beings were converging. The noise might have masked Daniel's footsteps or his final plea for help. But Jerry Brennan heard something that night. Scream, sudden, agonized, human, then silence. To this day, only parts of Daniel's remains have been found. His fractured vertebrae and shattered pelvis were discovered weeks later, far from where his backpack had been located. The rest of his body is still missing. Whether lost to the forest or hidden by something that didn't want to be found is a question that continues to haunt everyone who has followed the case. And for those who believe in the existence of Bigfoot, the answer may be far darker than anyone is willing to admit. What happened next is anyone's guess. The rest of Daniel's remains could still be hidden in that lair. Daniel Coleman was a kind, selfless man. In life, he dedicated himself to helping others, both in his career and in the wild. After his passing, the Blue Lake Volunteer Fire Department paid tribute to his memory. His chief, Rice Bago, spoke with sadness and pride. It's hard to accept, but what we can do now is carry Daniel's legacy forward. Live well, help others. That's what he would have wanted. No one can say for certain what really happened in those remote woods, but the clues left behind, photos, screams, sightings, hint at something far stranger than a hiking accident. They suggest that Daniel Coleman's didn't just vanish. He may have crossed paths with something not meant to be found.